Wxdl Ecosystem is an ecosystem as a service organization that provides services, tools, and resources to participants of local entrepreneurial ecosystems. To benefit from our services, you must become a member. As a member, we will provide you with 3 specific services. Number 1, access to a team available to you 24/7, 365. Number 2, access to software and platforms that we designed and engineered specifically for entrepreneurship. And number 3, we will help you fundraise once you're ready. If you'd like to help us grow and have a passion for entrepreneurship, you can build your own ecosystem on top of our infrastructure by becoming an ecosystem leader and a pitch studio owner. To be eligible, you must meet the following criteria. Number 1, passion for entrepreneurship. Number 2, ability to build your own advisory team. Number 3, ability to build an amazing startup community. Wxdl is an online and software-based ecosystem as a service. To learn more about our concepts, please visit www.wxdlecosys.com or www.wxdlecosys.com, or you can sign up directly on our Meet360 platform at www.meet360.org or www.meet360.org. Hi, my name is Julian. I'm the founder and CEO of Wxdl Ecosystem. Welcome to the Wxdl.Pod, episode number 4. In this episode, we're talking to Julian Mensah, who's originally from Ghana, but currently lives in the UK. Julian started Voltric, an amazing company. I'm gonna let him introduce Voltric to you guys so you can know exactly what it is. But we had a blast. Me and Greg, we had a blast talking to Julian. I actually have a lot of things in common with him in terms of how we came up in entrepreneurship. So I'm not gonna waste your time, and I'll see you guys after the interview. Where did you grow up? You know, what were your interests growing up? And what was your family like?
So originally I was born in Ghana, still brought and bred. You know, I still speak the language. You know, so I'm in England. We use the phrase "I'm as fresh as they come," right? Born and bred till about 12, and my family moved to the UK. I have several siblings across the globe. My older brother's in America. I've got 3 younger brothers in Ghana. I got a younger brother here in England and a sister in England as well. I love all of them to bits. My dad is back home in Ghana, and my mom's here in the UK. Just African parents, man. You know what they're like, stuck in their ways. In terms of my interest, I've always been interested in music. That's how I grew up. So prior to doing what I was doing, I worked in London writing and producing music as part of my church. I've worked as a music director as well, coordinating the team, and led worship a few times as well. So I am a musician at heart. My wife will tell you I have instruments all around this place. And she's trying to make the excuse that if I was to get rid of a couple of them, we would have space. But I have managed to justify the fact that they have probably more of a hold in this property than she does. But that is I guess my background, and obviously what my primary interest was. I also had a strong interest in technology, especially coming from Ghana. It was more of a fascination because of, the Western world at the very least at the time had all this tech and, computers and all that. But for us back home, like 25 of us in the house sharing one computer, right? The scheduling was mad. And the hierarchy was even crazy. But it was more of a fascination, understanding how technology was and, how computers worked and what they did, all that kind of stuff. So subsequently, when I came to the UK, my interest in tech was still very strong. Even though I am not a coder or developer of any sort, when I went to computer school in Ghana, because you actually do that, we did a lot of hardware stuff. So I have a lot of hardware knowledge that I still apply now, but I am categorically not a tech person based on the modern day technology. If you spoke to me 20 years ago, yeah, man, I could like fix your computer, plug it in, rewire, all sorts. Nowadays, you're top tier tech people, the kind of guys that work in Facebook and Google. I don't touch those guys, right? So, that's where I guess growing up, my background was, my interest was, and as we will get to subsequently, my tech interest has grown significantly, and it's essentially brought us to where we are at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, great. Fantastic. It's great to see that you're interested in technology, and you started with technology in Ghana before you came to the UK. So,
yeah. I mean, the amount of times I broke a PlayStation, and you're not supposed to break those things in Ghana.
Yeah.
The dime a dozen, and I got into a few trouble, times with that.
Great. So, the other question that I like to ask, I was going to ask you about where you got your start in technology, but you already answered that. So my next question would be, a lot of people say that entrepreneurs are born, right? And some other people say that, entrepreneurs are made. I'm kind of the ones who would say that, it's actually a choice that you make at some point in your life where you decide that, that's the better route for me. Like, I shouldn't work for somebody because I have so many ideas. What's your take on that?
I guess I'd like to know, to the people that say entrepreneurship or entrepreneurs are boring, what is it about them that makes boring?
Yeah.
Speaking of someone going through the journey, I wouldn't say I have a boring day. I probably have more stressful days than I have boring days. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I can see how to people on the outside, my life or my journey looks boring, but to me, it's actually, let me take away the stressful part, it's dynamic. Yeah. To me, it's very, very dynamic. You have your good and your bad days, right? And every small win is a win. It's every small win to the outside world is a huge win. So, and I do agree it's not for everyone. I'd arguably say it's probably even not for me, right? Yeah. But I guess from my perspective, I have a passion on something, and I want to try and bring it to light. I know that the success rate is very, very low when it comes to entrepreneurship. So I appreciate the risk that I'm also taking and the impact it can have on my family. But the reward is even greater, in my opinion. So as a result, I see that. I think my previous job, I was a product manager working in education supplies. And then before that, I was a junior product manager in education. That was in automotive aftermarket as well. I've done the whole, and I've worked in a company in the UK called Nationwide. Well, I'm pretty sure it's global. But I've worked in Nationwide as well. And I've worked for other people. I don't see that there's necessarily anything wrong. I obviously have issues with having bad bosses, and I've experienced that. But I don't think there's anything, if you're good at a job, if you're successful, product manager or successful salesman or successful tech developer, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there are entrepreneurs who are serial entrepreneurs, right? And that is actually their profession. They start a business, sell it. And you have the guys like me who are passionate about something, who want to build something, and more importantly, put food on their family's table. Not that actually put food on their generation's table, right? We're building an empire here, right? So I'm looking at it thinking, I get Voltric right, and my grandkids are still eating. You can look at the success as we've seen it in other races. There are families that are still enjoying the money of their great grandfather. Yeah. Right. So as a young Black person, why can't I do that for my generations to come? So that is, I guess, my view on it. I don't think that there'll ever be a right or wrong about entrepreneurship. I think it's just down to the individual and what you want. Yeah, that's my take.
I totally agree. That's a great thing, because a lot of people that sometimes I feel like they bash having a job. Like some entrepreneurs are like, hey, you shouldn't have a job, and I'm like, so you're building a business, but then you're telling people not to work for nobody? Like, how does that make any sense?
It doesn't. Some of the world's wealthiest people as well. Let's not forget, they didn't build their own business. They work for other people, right? You know, they work for other people. They built their own brand, their own credibility, and still work for other people. There is nothing wrong with work. I mean, I'm building a company. I need people to work for me. So how can you bash the idea that working like, I'll be frank with you. If I had it my way, I work 9 to 5 and still get my salary and everything. That is a lot easier than half the stress that I go through on a regular basis, right? At least I know there's a steady income and I'm not having to only report to one person, not X amount of investors. Goodness me. Listen, I wouldn't bash the everyday 9 to 5. If anything, it's called 9 to 5 for a reason. You start at 9, dedicate your whole time to 5 o'clock, and you get home at 5, and then you see your family, you do what you need to do. When you're doing the thing that we're doing, you don't get that flexibility. You start at 4 a.m. and that's when that's part of the dreaming. You're dreaming and thinking about the business. We can apply that dream and see what works, what doesn't work. Do all your necessary stuff, and then it gets to like 11 p.m. Sorry, and you know that's when you're supposed to be finishing. And I have a daughter here, so I forgot about her, and I got a wife. Oh, it's lockdown. We're working from home, but I haven't actually seen them. Right? So,
that's crazy. That's so insane. Like they're in the same place as you are, but you don't have time to.
Oh goodness me! That this year I've changed it up. Last year in particular, that's what happened. I was sat where I'm sat right now, and I would do the whole day here. And my daughter's in the room there, my wife's there, and they're all doing. I wouldn't see them for a good 10 hours because I'm in meetings and I'm talking. Whereas this year, I've gone back to my mum's house and changed my old bedroom to an office. So on occasion, I actually wake up, get dressed, go there to work. So when I come home, I'm home and I'm with my family. And if I need to respond to any queries, I still don't feel like I'm in the same position. You know what I mean? So I've just changed it up just to allow myself mentally to be able to detach from where I'm working. Home should still be home. But I don't going back to that argument. I don't get that argument about
me neither.
Or you know, not 9 to 5 is dead. It's down to you as an individual, man. You can get entrepreneurs within jobs. You can get entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs within businesses, right? Some of the businesses that have grown to become what they are is because of not just the entrepreneur leading it. It's been entrepreneurs within the business that have also helped. They've taken on creative ideas and they've built things, and Facebook and Mark and Jack didn't get to where they are by themselves, right? They were entrepreneurs to help them to get there.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. Let's talk now a little bit about Voltric. You know, you're the founder and CEO. Talk to us a little bit, you know, about the business, what it does, and you know.
Yeah, cool. So, just obviously bearing in mind that we're predominantly based in the UK at the moment. Lord guide our steps. But Voltric is basically a mobility as a service platform, and our goal is to integrate a series of transport services into a single solution on demand. We're starting with an electric vehicle subscription service, and I'm sure as you may be experiencing, you know, EVs are growing and they have very, very great benefits to having an EV on the road rather than an internal combustion engine vehicle. But with our EV subscription service, it would allow users to subscribe to a road-ready electric car for one price a month without having to manage insurance, tax, MOT, and essentially all the elements you need to get to the road, right? That's why we call it road ready. We're also building an innovative platform that will allow us to integrate a range of transport solutions. So starting with for example, electric vehicle subscription service, users will be able to access a suite of features such as insight into their driving behavior, you know, how much CO2 they've saved based on driving an EV, and subsequently how much they've also saved financially, because there is financial savings, you know, that whole total cost of ownership element because of driving an EV. And because it's an online platform as well, they'll be able to manage their entire subscription through the platform. Furthermore, there are other solutions that we're looking to integrate. So one of the things that we're very determined to do is build a smart navigation. So because we're actually building an app, right? And our app, because it's 2021, and you know, what kind of business doesn't build an app? But our app will essentially allow users to access the vehicle, share the vehicles with their close encounters. Of course, having gone through our eligibility criteria, but also such key features such as, you know, smart navigation. So because of how much demand EVs are, and of course due to the do I say slow progress or I guess the slow progress of the charging infrastructure, there's a lot of knowledge around, you know, where to charge it, how to charge it, and how much distance I have. So Tesla do it quite well, and we're just bringing it to the other vehicles that don't do it. But you will allow users to be able to identify where the nearest charger is based on the current state of their vehicle, right? So they can see in our app that their vehicle has 55%, and they actually need 78% to hit their next destination. We'll be able to say your journey will take, rather than taking, say, 40 minutes like it usually has, it might take an hour and 20 because we needed to stop at this point to charge and then subsequently drive on. Yeah. So we're building those solutions. There's one thing I'll say is that I won't say everything we're doing is new. We're just taking experiences that are applied in one specific segment and trying to apply it as much as possible in all segments. Yeah. So that's the electric vehicles or the electric car element of what we're doing. That is something we'll be doing over the next sort of 18 to 24 months. And then we'll be looking to scale that. So suddenly introducing other forms of mobility, like I said. So everything from micromobility to public transport. So once again, to give you context, within the UK, I live in an area called Swindon, and the company is based in Bristol, which is a lot down south. But if I then wanted to drive to London, which is obviously a metropolitan area, getting to London, and the goal is that because of your Voltric subscription and the integrations that we have, you can park in a smart way. What I mean by that? Well, arrive and just park your car, and through the relevant cameras and API integrations, it's acknowledged that your car is already paid for parking and it's done through the subscription, right? You don't need to get out and put a coin in, or don't need to get out and try and remember your number plate. It's just you just park and go, or park and plug your vehicle to charge to support other activities. And then, like I said, it's a metropolitan area, so they have other transport solutions such as the underground services and easy taxis and ride hailing or micromobility. But you don't actually need all of that, right? So you don't need your car, right? You just need to be able to get to your destination, which is just 10 minutes away. Exactly. So if I'm not confusing you, just let me know. But essentially, then using your Voltric app, you can easily get underground, easily get a bus, or pick up a scooter and then ride across. So the goal is to just build a series of transport solutions into a single service on demand for the personal user, right? So it's if you've got a car, your experience should be different than someone who requires regular transport solutions all the time. It's to try and integrate that so that it's seamless. So if when you need it, it's available to you. It's a long-term goal. We're working on that 10-year vision. We're starting with the car subscriptions because of the value we believe it offers now. Just the ability to give you a brand new car for a period of time and then hand it back without having to put down a large deposit or that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, so great.
That was a very long explanation, right?
No, that's good.
I should have prepared a quicker pitch. Sorry. That was a long explanation. My apologies.
No, that's great. That's great. It's I love it.
Hopefully you caught all of it anyway.
Yeah. So I read about it and I found it really, really interesting what you guys are building, and kudos to you for doing it. And
I think I have moments where I hit it on its head. I get it spot on based on who I'm speaking, especially if it's a really high value investor. I'd spend time, days thinking about it, preparing, and not to undermine what we're doing here right now. But I guess if I treated it the same way as an investor pitch, I probably would have been a little bit more slick. But I've taken the pressure off, right? And I'm like, oh, let me breathe, let me relax. And that's the consequence of breathing and relaxing, basically.
No, and that's the pod culture that we got. You know what I mean? It's just about chilling. We want to have a conversation. We want to share that with our guys. And so they can just pick up all these nuggets, right, of gold that you guys have, gone through already. So it's nothing formal. We're happy that you're just sharing. You know what I mean?
I'm grateful for that. Like I said, my shoulders are definitely lighter. I can't lie to you.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we do that podcast, so we can have real conversations. So, like you said, it's not like an investor pitch where you try to, trim as much as possible, so you can be specific. So that's why we love to have those conversations. That's the reason why we created Wxdl, because, providing the information to a lot of people on how to become an entrepreneur and what's the steps. Because a lot of people, too many people are providing information such as, it's a great life, it's fantastic, all the time, and we get, you know what I mean? So
I want some of those people's gold, man. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying, but I want some of whatever water they're drinking. I'll tell you that.
All right, Greg. So I'll let you go with your questions, Greg.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Julian. What an absorbing conversation so far. Just off the bat, I like to ask a few growth questions. I think the first thing is that we're talking about all the sugar rational that you need to keep going. What is a day of Julian Mensah? How do you prepare mentally? What's that routine like that just keeps you going because you got so much on your plate?
Yeah. So to be honest, it differs, right? I'm not going to give you one of those. I wake up at 4 a.m. and I I don't do yoga. I mean, my version will be praying, but I've done that. I'm not going to give you one of those. I wake up and I go for a run each time. No, it doesn't always happen like that. The day does differ and the season does differ, and it depends on where you're at. So, if you don't mind, this might be a long answer too.
Go for it.
So I guess probably when we started, it was a little bit easier because I was in research phase, right? So I had a full-time job then. So I had a nice steady routine. I'd go to work, come home, and then probably spend a shape of about an hour at a time. My daughter wasn't born as well. So my wife and I would spend time together, and essentially it's me time, right? Research, do some financial forecast, network here and there. Those things were a little bit easier to do. So that was a steady routine. Then I got made redundant from my job. So I had, technically speaking, all this extra time / the part-time job to keep, the roof still on our top of our head. And that was different. I was working late nights. I was working 3 a.m., right? Just for, once again, learning about shares, learning about how to set up a company, understanding what share options are, how the whole corporate governance. I was learning all these things on my own at the time. So, you're talking working or say doing a night shift, for example, in a warehouse, which is what I did. I went from being a product manager and having a good steady job to doing a night shift. It's very demoralizing, but you have to look at the end goal, right? So, like I said, there wasn't
sorry to cut you off, but I did the same thing. I worked at a warehouse as well. I went from corporate to working at a warehouse to be able to build a business.
Well, that's it. And listen, that experience, in some days were humbling. Other days, I can't lie to you, I wanted to drown because I was like, I've got 2 degrees, man. What the heck am I doing?
Yeah.
And not to disrespect the people that were in charge of me. I respected them. But equally speaking, I was like, I can tell you based on my professional background, how much better and how much productive we can do this. But I had to remember my place. You know what I mean? I wasn't there to showboat. I had to acknowledge that I'm there to pack boxes. You know what I mean? That stuff was different. But listen, that was a humbling experience. And like I said, what the average day was like, I was up at 2, 3 a.m. doing whatever I needed to do, doing, or rather, we're doing a night shift, waking up, sleeping for a little bit, waking up, doing a bit of work. And that happened all the way through when I brought in my co-founder as well. The structure really came sort of early last year before the pandemic hit, where, we had a sort of like a incubator office space. So I started to treat it a bit more like a full-time job, even though I still had my part-time, but at least we secured investment, right? So I didn't have to do too much part-time. So the structure was kind of very simple. Wake up early, pray, get ready, go to work, go do Voltric, come back, do a bit of part-time here and there if I had to. So, thank good Lord for Amazon Flex, right? Just get into your car, deliver some parcels. So that was the standard structure. And I kept that throughout. Obviously, when the pandemic hit, that was when it kind of went AWOL, where the structure became a little bit crazy. So once again, I'm not giving you some magical, I'm just telling you my reality.
Yeah.
Right. When the pandemic hit, we were obviously all forced to work from home. It's like everyone discovered this wonderful thing called Zoom, and my calendar filled up like no one's business. So the rookie mistake was I woke up thinking my day was going to be the same. Pray, go put my clothes on, do a meeting. And then I literally filled up 9 till 5. Actually, no, the first time was 9 till 7. And I mean, I had no breaks because I was inexperienced in having so much meetings because everybody was available. Usually I book stuff 2 weeks in advance, but everyone's available, right? So that was obviously a huge culture shock. So I tried to get over that hurdle and I learned and I managed. Talking today, my structure is not that different. And I started it off by saying, on some days, I go work in a different location altogether because we're still sorting out our new office and obviously things are improving here. So on some days I wake up, go back to my structure. I have a daughter now as well, I must add. So daddy time is... My daughter doesn't understand how busy and how occupied I am. He only has 2 things: clean me because I've soiled myself, and spend time with me. That's it, right? So I get her up. I let my wife sleep till about 8ish. I get her up at she gets up at 5, 6ish or 7 on a good day. I clean her up, do breakfast, we play around, do what we need to do. I get dressed when my wife gets dressed, and then I go to work. That's the most important part now. I actually go to my old bedroom, by to work. 2 screens.
Yeah.
And the structure is kind of very simple. I look at sales activity, right? So look at how we've done the sales now. Our sales isn't great compared to what I used to do in my old job. So that's some transferable skills that I've brought across.
Yeah.
But we just started now. We just launched a month ago. So I'm just looking at activity based on traffic online, how people are doing. I look at signups as well, and why people who have completed the signup, what that looks like. Once again, we're early stage, so we're seeing more traffic and not as much conversion yet, because of obviously the nature of our business. So I'm looking at those pieces of data, and then I catch up with my co-founder. I tend to do it maybe 3 or 4 times a week, where I'm like, listen, have you got a spare minute? Let's have a catch up. Let's talk about the plan. And the plan is the plan we spoke about on Monday, right? Because Monday we do like a week, we call it the week ahead, and just go, this is what we expect. We say, look, how are you getting on with that? Are you chasing this? Because obviously we're both in charge. And then I'll catch up with the tech guys as well and be like, okay, this is Julian's vision. How practical is it? How is it? How quickly can we bring it to life? And how much is going to hurt our bank account? All that kind of stuff. That's the practical day. I try to end my day on a lighter note where I can. It doesn't always end up that way. Today, for example, I'm going to end my day talking about finances, right? Or financial. I hate that, but I have to. It's part and part of my job. I think the most important takeaway from all of this for me is just learning about your situation, how you can improve, and building a structure. That's probably the best way to answer this very, very this very short question, but long answer is the day in the life of my journey is just every day I'm learning, how can I improve my structure? How can I build a better setup for myself so that I can subsequently help my team, right? Yeah. Because as we grow, as we hit we're unofficially 10 because we've got consultants, right? Yeah. But as we grow and as we scale, I'm aware that I'll be doing more people management, both investors and internal and some customers. And I need to manage my structure, my time as well. Something I didn't know before. So once again, there is no special structure of the way it's changed. The whole setup is been crushed, and you got to learn how to develop and adapt. How much more Zoom meetings am I going to be doing? Yeah. And also when I'm on the road meeting customers, for example, I've only recently started doing this, but I have an auto message that I set up now saying, I'm unavailable today. I'll respond to your email when I get back in the office or get back to my laptop. So understanding that, okay, maybe today is a non-email day, right? This is all about speaking to our pilot customers and engaging with people and driving up and down the country. So there is no real structure. It's just learning how you do each day. And some people are great. They've got and I think it depends on the business. They've got real solid structure. For me, mine is very, very dynamic. And just learning how am I going to tackle tomorrow differently? It's just that simple, really. So sorry for the long answer once again.
That's great. I took there's two kind of points that I got on that. The first one is that's a real answer, and I love it because it's exactly what our guys need to hear as well. Usually you see the pictures of the guys on the yacht sipping some wine.
The yacht. Oh, I would love that.
But we forget about the late nights, the depression, all those things, which is real talk. You know what I mean? And so I'm glad you shared that. The second part is, you sure you guys are not related, because I've got a systems guy that's sitting right there, and he's always he's my co-man, so he's always talking to me about system thinking, system this. So I don't know whether you guys are.
Yeah, and it's funny because while you were talking, I was like, man, we're so similar. Even our lives are similar, because I got a son. I got a couple of sons, that came through, in the journey. Even my life with my wife is almost similar as yours. So I'm like,
hey, listen, we're going through the journey. And I think for me, the takeaway is that, and I go back to what I said, what can we learn from each other, right? I'm not trying to be a serial entrepreneur. I'll be very clear. The minute, by God's grace, Voltric IPOs, let me be very clear, I will speak to my investors and my board and see what options I have available. But mine is looking to retire. Let's be clear about that. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to be doing this whole nah. Let me take a couple of billions into my account, get that yacht as well, and then just actually spend time with my family the way I should. My daughter's great, hard work, great, but I want to spend time with her. I don't get that time, right? So let me build this for the generation. So I'm glad the answer was you found it.
No, the answer was solid, man. Solid. Loved it. And so just take us quickly through this journey of yours with Voltric, the growth part, the investment, and those plans, because it is an industry that when I think about even in Africa, and we'll chat about it in the next question, is the whole thing about the electric vehicles, still kind of in the early stages. In Africa. It's like a little bit way back, and so what's that journey like so far for you in terms of the growth part?
So that's a great question. I've told this story quite a few times, I guess, and I'm sorry all my answers are stories. So I think the best is to go back to I wrote the idea for Voltric, even though I didn't know the name was going to be Voltric at the time, when I did my master's in 2016 to 2018, I believe it was late 2016, early 2018. And like I said, going back to the previous question, I didn't know how to start a company, right? So the first person I brought on board was Miriam, who is now a legal advisor, and she's worked in corporate. So the first question was, how do you do a company again? Like what's all the legal, my French, all the legal crap you have to do that I don't really want to do and care about. So Miriam was really, and listen, if my advice to anybody listening is the two things you got to get done is legal and finance. Listen, you won't like them. They're not your friends, although mine is. But you have to, because you have to educate yourself on, the things that you should be aware of, the things you mustn't do, and what umbrella you shouldn't be piercing, right? That limit in the UK in particular, you've got that limited umbrella, and a lot of companies that you tend to work with want to pierce that. And Miriam and Melissa, who's also joined our legal team, been like, you can't pierce that. That is what protects you, your family. You can't pierce that umbrella. So that's where it kind of all began. And then, like I said, I finally started a company after my redundancy. I went to the university next to my town, was city, Bristol, University of England. That's where I did my master's. And they have an entrepreneurial course. So I said, number one, I didn't know you had a course because I'd have done that rather than the master's in marketing. But number two, you actually do a course on entrepreneurialism and you build entrepreneurs. So I needed people to help me. I've never raised funds in my life. I was certainly brought up to not beg and ask for money, and kind of work to get my own. Whereas I understand the circumstances are different, but I still don't know how to ask for money, right? I can sell, I can sell stuff. I can't ask for money without something in exchange. So that's when I found my co-founder Brent. He was a student. There's like a good 7-year gap between us. He's still a student, and he's really just about to finish his degree now. But I pitched to 60 people. Brent came up. We spent 6 months working together, and after that 6 months, we essentially decided, I decided anyway that he was a very valuable asset, and he essentially became my co-founder. We also pitched in front of 6 investors. This was part of the learning phase.
Yeah.
Now, let me be very clear. I'm not saying everyone should do this, right? I did it so that I can learn what investors expected and the kind of responses that I'd get.
Yeah.
So we pitched in front of 6 investors for 150,000 at a valuation of 1 million with nothing other than Excel sheets, like in terms of assets, right? We just did research. So we just had assets. That's what we had. We didn't have anything that was valued at 1.5.
Yeah.
So I went into that meeting expecting to be told, no, you're crazy. And more or less that's what happened. But the learning points where I want is the questions they were asking, don't get me wrong. They treated us respectfully, and some of them also knew. Granted, if the money did come, I would have taken it, but I didn't go there for the money. I went there to say, look, this is the business, a full-on pitch. This is what we're doing. What was so useful about that is they, without sort of taking too much time, they gave us a clear understanding of this is your business model and this is how you compete. And this is what we find really risky. This is an element of your business model, which is quite new. I don't understand, but I see the potential. Yeah. And I'm more likely to invest into this one despite the level of risk because of how innovative this is.
Yeah.
So once again, I know I'm being slightly vague here, and I can dive into later if you want me to. But that experience gave me an understanding of, once again, how some investors, angel investors, value companies at such an early stage. What I needed to do to justify our valuation when we do actually raise our round, how to better position my business, and really, how this business was going to go to market. So that story will stay with me forever because that was a very stupid and bold thing I did, but it also shaped Voltric to what it is today in terms of that EV subscription company. It wasn't that. Voltric was always designed to just help people go from internal combustion engine to electric vehicles. Just how to do it. There were just too many options, right? But we were able to settle on one based on that experience. Brent came in, I guess full-time co-founder, shares in the company, everything else. I brought Heather in to help with some marketing activity, even though upon reflection, probably didn't need it then as much. But she was very useful at that time as well. I brought Peter Peter came through Brent and once again helped with a lot of media marketing, communications. My background in my master's in marketing gave me commercial experience, right? I care about the market. I don't have as good experience in communication. So Peter came in with a bit more communication. So did all the branding. So all the materials you see online in regards to our branding and our social media is all Peter, and he does a great job. And as a collective, we spent the best part of last year just growing the company, right? So everything from, commercial conversations with Renault UK, MG, Tesla, BMW, all of that kind of stuff. That's what I spent a lot of last year doing. Last year was less tech. It was really more commercial, building the business model. And of course, building the brand as well. So that's kind of like our growth journey. And then Melissa came in to clean house again, legal. It sounds crazy, but she's probably the one person in my own company I'm scared of. Let me tell you, that woman is a fireball, man. And she's actually South African. I still get scared of her. I'm like, she's gonna hit me. Because like she's very hot on the legal stuff, and she's like, Julian, we can't do that, or you can't do that. And no, don't touch this, let me do it. I know how to communicate it. She actually, I'm not gonna say it publicly, but she made a vehicle manufacturer change one of their terms for us. I'm like, you're gonna get into trouble. Those are standard terms, right? Everyone has to sign that. She's like, yeah, but you can't afford to be exposed. I'm like, I know, but don't ruin this for me. So yeah, she's brilliant at her head job, and I'm so grateful. I got strong enough for my team. I'm so grateful for that. So yeah, in short, that's kind of like our growth journey. Phil has now joined as well. He's got a great experience in tech and sort of green energy, and we've got Tim, who's also the consultant externally, who's helping us with our platform. That is the growth journey. To answer your question about the whole EV side of stuff, in Africa, I would love to know more. As a Ghanaian person, I haven't spent enough time looking at the growth of electric vehicles in Africa, and I guess green energy as a whole, and how Africans could capitalize on that. And I think that's a really significant point. Africans can capitalize on that. The sun is there, it's in abundance, right? There are ways to capitalize on green energy, but I haven't really spent the time to do that work. I think for me, the biggest thing that I've learned, especially, is I began this journey talking about EVs and tech and what that looked like. And then I discovered the environmental side. And that suddenly became more important to me, even though it wasn't on my radar at the start. I just loved really cool cars that have tech in them. The car can drive itself. That's pretty sick, right? And then I discovered the environmental side and how much CO2 can be saved. And in the UK, we found some data saying 26% of all CO2 come from the transport sector. So like reducing that can have a huge impact. And there is actually a story of a lady who lost her daughter somewhere in South London because of how, and the evidence came as a result of just poor air quality, right? And I'm just thinking there are some things we can't avoid. And if you look at the way COVID happened, there's some things we can't avoid. But that's a death that could have been easily avoided of a young girl, just because of how we move around. Yeah. So that's what's kind of inspired me. That's what's driven the journey. And I take that story and I think, man, I know I said after Voltric IPO, I'm going to relax, but actually, you know what? The other part of me is like, how I would love to solve a lot of this for Africa, right? How we can improve air quality in Africa, how we can use these technologies to do so much work. That being said, I'm aware of companies in Africa doing some great jobs there. I just haven't done the work and the insight to learn about them. Yeah. So forgive me for once again the long story and love it. And if I haven't answered anything to that question, please let me know.
I just wanted to just touch on that is, there are a lot of companies, and that's why Jay got so involved in Africa. There's a lot of great work being done in Africa. South Africa just getting a company called Agility, who's launched the electric vehicle, picking up rapid pace. It's going to be a big player in the market. A lot of guys on the green energy side, environmental awareness. And so as you grow and start to scale and you want to, come back into the diaspora and you start to look at how we can connect back, then, we'll connect and we'll chat and
Yeah,
something.
I have, based on my experience with Voltric in particular, and how you remove that ownership element and you offer a service, actually how scalable that is for a lot of people in certain areas that don't have electricity, and the areas that have filthy electricity as well, and also the areas that are dependent on so I'm just going to tell you a story without getting myself short, but my father just said, sometimes in Africa, in Ghana, we call it light off, and I believe in Nigeria, they call it NEPA. But basically, where suddenly the grid goes off and it has, no light.
Yeah.
And my father was saying, sometimes that's propaganda, right? You have a politician who demands that the grid to be turned off for you or a particular area to lose light, and then suddenly they come and say, "I can fix your light for you. This is my momentum. I will sort out the blackout for you, the light off. You will not have an issue." And I think to myself and say, but we can put that in the power of people, right? We live in abundance of heat and energy, and with the right technology, you can actually produce your own electricity, have that control, and subsequently make money from that. Listen, I'm giving some of your listeners some ideas here, and I'll leave it at that. But I think about that, and I'm thinking, in the UK, I had a blackout here on our house. It happened at night, and the following day, we got an email and we got paid back for it. I'm like, I was sleeping, right? Yeah. I didn't even experience the blackout, and we got an apology for the blackout. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Whereas back home, it's a regular thing. I'm like, it doesn't make sense, So we have some things that need to be systematically fixed. Yeah. And I'm praying that once I'm done here and I can go back to Africa with some cash, because let's face it, that's what it's going to need. I can have an influence in people's personal life regarding energy. And listen, I'm trying to get involved in people's personal life regarding mobility. Yeah. I would like to do that in utilities. Something that down the line when I've spent time with my family and I'm not about to go through the whole journey and White House all over again.
If you look, sorry, Jay, just on a closing point. If you look at Voltric's the value proposition for Africa, we got escalating fuel and diesel costs. Yet the basics of your electricity, we still have it in South Africa. We call it load shedding, by the way. So we have regular stages, stage 1, 2, 3, which goes out like 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. So we connect with what you're saying. And so when you take out that power away from the top level, you give it back to the people, there's Voltric can just, it just explodes. So excited, and I'm excited to hear from you in the future.
Yeah. Give me time. Let me fix Voltric in the UK first. I've got some plans here, and then I'll take that, hopefully that success back home. That's the plan.
Lovely.
Yeah, fantastic. Great. So to wrap up, I always finish with the same question. I'm always interested in this big vision, the huge vision that you try to achieve. Obviously, you just mentioned that you want to start by dominating in the UK. But what would be the ultimate vision? You already touched it a little bit, for Africa. But what's that huge vision that you have?
So I think there is a global vision, but it will be a replica of the UK one. Yeah. Especially in the mobility space. All I'm trying to achieve is that when someone steps out their door to get to a location, they think of Voltric. Yeah. And rather than focusing on every little increment to get to that location, they just think of A, being where they are, B, being a destination, and Voltric does everything in between for them. Yeah. That is my long-term vision. So, like I said, if it's to drive their Voltric EV that they subscribe to one location, and then they want to jump on the train, it's not, I have to, I arrive at the train station, I have to now buy a ticket. It's like, listen, I'm going to drive my car, park my car. My car's going to support load balance on the grid and blah, 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 charging. Voila. I'm just going to turn up at the barriers, scan my phone, jump on the train, get off the train, scan. Oh, there's a scooter there, cool. Hit 2 buttons, click, jump and go. I'm trying. My vision is that, when someone wants to get from A to B, they can do that seamlessly as part of the entire journey, right? And then Voltric just focuses on every little element in between. So they don't have to focus on that, right? So it's safer because then there's not different touch points in terms of payments that you have to deal with. You know, so that's one element. It's less hassle and seamless, and it's time saving as well.
Yeah.
In the long term. The way people think of Uber in London in particular, and obviously I'm using my experience, is what I want people to think about when they're getting from A to B in the long term. In regards to Voltric anyway. So yeah. Sorry for the very, very long answer, but it was
that's great.
That's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it was. We should do a part 2 because it's super interesting, and like very candid in the answers that you provide, which is great. And it was great, like spending some time with you. I don't know, Greg, if you have another question just before we wrap up here.
Yeah, feel free, man. It looks like I've got to 4 now. My other meeting cancelled. I'm kind of grateful. I'm like, I need a break. So yeah, I'm glad it all cancelled. It's good. It's good. It's very rare.
Yeah, I just got a comment because it's so absorbing, and like I say, I think that part 2 is on. We give you some time, do some great stuff there, and then we jump on in a few months and we'll connect again. I'll give you some updates on Africa as well, what's happening. Because it's starting to take off, and then you can kind of just keep that in the back end of your plans as well. So excited to chat again, man.
No, thank you very much, Greg. Jay, it's been a real pleasure to speak to you guys. I hope all is going on in Canada as well. I've got my eye on there. Don't worry.
Whenever you want to come here, we'll help you out.
Thank you very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah.
All right. Here it is, guys. That's the end of episode number 4. I told you were going to like our conversation with Julian. Very energetic, very candid in all of his answers. I loved his answer when it came to my question about are entrepreneurs born or are they made? So we had a very specific answer to that, which I really love. Another great perspective on that question. I love to ask that question because a lot of people are hesitating on starting businesses because they don't feel like they were born entrepreneurs. So I hope you guys enjoyed it again, just like we did. And I'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Wxdl.Pod.